They tried to stop him at the gate, and that's when it all went wrong for the airline. The man they were questioning wasn't just another passenger. He was escorting a fallen soldier home. Below, on the tarmac, a flag-draped casket waited in silence, sealed and honored. But inside the terminal, a supervisor waved paperwork, citing procedures and delays, insisting the escort would have to be rebooked. As if this was just a missed connection and not the final journey for someone who gave everything. The escort stood still, his uniform pressed, his jaw tight. He listened without raising his voice. Discipline had taught him when to speak and when to let silence do the work. Other travelers started to notice. Whispers of fallen soldier rippled through the crowd. Phones came out. Still, the airline pushed back, citing policy, schedules, everything except respect. That's when the escort calmly asked for a name. Then another. Then he requested the station manager, not with anger, but with unshakable certainty. As the delay stretched on, the atmosphere in the terminal began to shift. Pilots paused their walk. Flight attendants stopped. A captain removed his hat. One by one, strangers stood quietly, forming an unspoken line of witness. Finally, the escort spoke. His voice was low but unbreakable. He explained that the soldier below had no more reroutes, no more delays, and no second chances. He would not board any plane that did not carry them together. The terminal fell silent. The supervisor's script collapsed. A call was made, then another. Somewhere far above the policy manuals, someone with authority finally listened. Within minutes, the gate reopened. The boarding process was reversed. An announcement echoed through the terminal, not an apology, but an invitation for everyone to stand. As the escort walked down the jet bridge alone, every passenger rose to their feet. Pilots saluted. Flight attendants wept openly. The airline that had tried to stop him was left with something far heavier than a schedule disruption. The public realization that rules mean nothing without humanity. The plane departed late that day, but no one complained. Everyone on board knew they were part of something sacred. Long after the wheels left the runway, the story spread. Not about an airline delay, but about the moment a system underestimated a quiet man on an extraordinary mission and learned, too late, that some journeys are not negotiable. What most people never saw was what happened after the doors closed. The real weight of that flight wasn't on the manifest. It was in the silence. The escort sat alone in the first row, an empty seat beside him, carrying a responsibility that couldn't be set down. Behind him, the cabin was still. No music, no chatter. Mid-flight, the captain's voice came over the intercom, unscripted, explaining who was on board and why they were late. Without being asked, every passenger agreed to remain seated after landing so the escort could disembark first. When the plane touched down, no one moved. Outside, emergency vehicles lined the taxiway, their lights flashing silently in salute. Through the window, an honor guard waited. The escort stood, adjusted his uniform, and walked down the aisle. Strangers lowered their heads, some pressing hands to their hearts. The airline representatives who had argued policy hours earlier now stood off to the side, quiet and diminished, watching as the man they tried to stop fulfilled a promise no rulebook could ever contain. As the casket was transferred with perfect precision, the escort paused, taking a single breath, not for the crowd, but for the soldier who would never walk off a plane again. In the days that followed, the airline issued statements and revised its procedures. But those who were there didn't remember the policy changes. They remembered the stillness. They remembered the unity of strangers who chose patience over convenience and the quiet strength of a man who never raised his voice, yet bent an entire system toward dignity. The story traveled far beyond that airport. A reminder that service doesn't end on the battlefield and respect doesn't require permission. The escort completed his duty that day and disappeared back into anonymity, but the lesson he carried lingered. Some missions are sacred, some rules are small, and when humanity and procedure collide, only one deserves to stand in the way. Thank you for listening.